What's going on, guys? This is Tower number 9, and I'm coming to you with a video here discussing the recent season 1 of the Take the Initiative League that was played online for Star Wars Unlimited. We're going to go into the data here and see what it has. So the first season has ended. It closed a few days ago, and now we're going to be reviewing the results here. So shout out to Rebel Traitor for running this league and for providing this information. So first up, the final standings. In number 1, we have Thork. Congratulations, Thork. He's featured on this channel sometimes. With an impressive score of 12-1 and 1832 ELO. Uh, we have several other players here. I squeaked in at 8th, but on the last day, enough people participated that it got expanded to a cut to top 16 instead of a cut to top 8. So I was able to make the cut, and there's going to be a top 16 single elim um, that will be played later on. Probably, I think it's sometime towards the later part of this month. Okay, so with congratulations to everyone who made top 16 and everyone who just participated in the league, had some good games, and so on. So next up, we are going to go over to the data here. So I have uh, this is like popularity of different leaders and also some win rates. So if we look here, if we sort by the overall win rate, the number one leader in overall win rate was Sabine Wren. She was also one of the more popular leaders. So going back to sorting by popularity, so Sabine ended up actually in fourth place, but beats all but tied with Leia for third place and doing extremely well with her 67% win rate, quite strong. The most popular leader was Boba Fett, and he also had a quite solid 64% win rate. Interestingly, though, the win rate of different styles of boba decks were really different. So, first off, nobody even tried blue boba. Red boba was actually disfavored with a 46% win rate. Green boba had a 61% win rate, and yellow boba had an 80% win rate, which is really high. Now, to be fair, this is a small sample size, and we don't necessarily know if these sorts of results hold, but this is definitely a result that makes me think, hey, we should give double yellow boba a second look. It looks like it performed really well in these league games. Luke Skywalker was an interesting case because he was one of the most popular leaders, but he actually did kind of badly. None of his archetypes here had a more than none of his archetypes that there even had a positive win rate. All four were tried, though only one game was played with yellow. There were 0 wins with yellow Luke. Blue Luke had a 17% win rate. Green with a 39% win rate. Despite for a while being like the most popular deck and considered one of the best, the results didn't really turn out. And Red Luke, however, had a 47% win rate, which is the strongest of any versions of them, and has gotten some card reveals recently that might push it even further. So Luke was popular, but he wasn't very successful. And if I were going to be playing Luke, I would recommend playing Red Luke based on this data. Third, we had Leia, very strong overall 58% win rate. Gets even better when you focus on Red Leia, which is kind of the premier aggro version of it that became very prevalent with a 64% win rate there. Really strong, similar to Boba's overall win rate, same as Boba's overall win rate. Strong performance from Leia. Aggro was quite good. We had a very aggressive meta towards the end of the season. Luke was really popular earlier on in the season. Next, we have Sabine with only one game fewer than Leia, and a stronger overall win rate with 67%. Interestingly, Red Sabine had a 67% win rate as well, and Yellow Sabine had a little bit higher with a 68% win rate. So one of the overall stronger results in the format. Vader, almost every single game played with Vader was with Green. Green seems to fit very well with Vader. And Green Vader had a 63% win rate, Vader overall with a 61 because there was a loss with a blue Vader build. Vader also in an interesting spot. So I think Vader is pretty weak to aggro, and we'll get into that a bit more as we do some matchups. But I think Vader is pretty weak to aggro, but overall can be really strong against mid-range decks. His endgame is very powerful. We had several other heroes here who had at least some play and generally below 50% win rates, nothing incredibly impressive. Grand Inquisitor did have a positive win rate, but only had 5 games played, so a really low sample size. We're going to go to the matchup. We're going to go to some of this matchup stuff. So this is just this tab of the sheet is basically just providing the same sort of information as I was just going into, where it's breaking it down not just by leader, but by specific by leader and color. And so there we see the most games played were yellow Sabine with a 68% win rate, and then Leia Red, and then Vader Green. Boba was really popular, but because multiple different versions of Boba had a lot of games played, Boba, no one version of it ended up in a really high number of games played. So the two most played decks, Sabine Yellow and Leia Red, both very aggro decks, and I've discussed earlier how we're in a very aggro meta right now. Both of these also having quite strong win rates. If I were playing the game right now, I would really be planning to counter that aggro. If we go to matchups, we can see so some of the we can kind of look at a specific leader. Now, I want to be clear, this has even lower sample size than some of the other stuff because only so many games are played between different leaders. So this is not really definitive information, but we can look here and see that Sabine here doing quite well overall. Interestingly, Sabine seems to be quite favored in the Sabine Leia aggro mirror. So interesting little result there. However, and similarly Sabine quite favored against Vader, but we see Sabine struggling with Krennic and with Iden, with those sort of more healing in those decks, and more of an ability maybe to stabilize against Sabine. We can look. Interestingly, it seems like Leia has sort of a different scenario. Leia doesn't seem to be struggling with Krennic or with Iden, but this could represent like 1 or 2 games. So these statistics are not necessarily so good. Interestingly, Sabine seems very favored against Luke, but Leia was actually disfavored against Luke. So not sure what exactly to make of that. Might also be sample size. And then also we see some of this confirming kind of what I would consider conventional wisdom. So, Boba Fett here has a quite bad matchup into Vader. This is basically what you would expect. Boba is sort of a mid-range deck. Vader is much more of a long game deck, and if Boba can't close the game quickly, Vader ends up in a pretty strong position. Um, Vader, yeah, doing very well against a lot of decks, but struggling with these aggro builds. Also, interestingly, with Han. Not sure what that's all about, but yeah. So that's just some basic data about this metagame. And so overall, we can also look at the raw game data so you can see what bases were being used. One thing that jumps out at me right here is a lot of people playing Energy Conversion Lab. Um, and I think that as we move towards the later part of the season here, I haven't analyzed this in depth, but I think as we move towards the later part of the season, we started seeing more of the more 30 HP bases. So, let's look at if we look at like these first 10 games, there was one 30 HP base used on but in the 20 bases on the first 10 games, one for each side in each game. And then if we look at the last games here, we can see, here's Administrator's Tower, Catacombs of Cadera, Administrator's Tower, Administrator's Tower. So we started off the season, I think, in an environment where people were really favoring the 25 HP bases, and I think that is still the case to at least some degree, but we've seen a lot more 30 HP bases start to be played, and I think the reason for that is very simple. I think it's because, like I was saying, with those win rates and so on, we are in an aggro meta right now, and we've sort of seen a scenario where people want to have that extra HP against aggro, especially if you're playing. So Administrator's Tower here is very common, actually much more common. In fact, I don't think there's a single Jeddah City game in this whole block back here, but there's a bunch of Administrator's Towers. So, if you have that comparatively weaker Jeddah City base, and swapping that for the Administrator's Tower seems perhaps much more appealing. Yeah, you have to go all the way up here to see a Jeddah City, and then here are quite a few Administrator's Towers. Um, yeah, so that's some interesting stuff there in terms of the base meta, and I think that that shift towards more 30 HP bases is reflective of what I was saying overall, which is we go to the thing by deck again, and top 2 decks are very aggro decks with quite high win rates. Leia a little bit less than 2/3, Sabine a little bit more than 2/3, and additionally third most played deck was Vader Green, which is actually a deck that these aggro decks are strong against. So that's a situation where aggro kind of reaping the benefits of this top section. So really some interesting stuff to consider. Now, in addition to these results, though, we actually have there's another season of this league. So this was like season zero. As you can see here, it says season zero data. And we're actually going to move on to season 0.5, which has already begun. So if you are interested in taking part of this online league, there is going to be a sign up link in the video description below, and you can help forge a new meta. I think already we're seeing some shifts. As people respond to the huge prevalence of aggro, we're seeing more anti-aggro type builds, and it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves. Who ends up in the best spot with this next season 0.5 starting up. We are still in the first week, so if you I'm going to publish this. This is Friday evening, so you still have the weekend to join up and get the bonus for playing in the first week. There will be a sign up link in the video description below that will take you to the Discord server for this league, and then you can go to the league sign up channel, and you can go to the league sign up channel and join up. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Just thought I'd give a quick look at the current meta, at least in this early online league that had, we didn't have it looks like we had 50 total players in this league. Not all of them played all 8 games. We had quite a few who did not play enough to be like fully rated or whatever, but that's how it often goes. People have different amounts of time, and this league did run into the holidays. So now we're going to be moving on to the next season. We'll see what happens, and I personally am excited to see where it goes. So if you want to join up and come explore the new meta, check out the link in the video description below, and yeah, I guess you can start playing some league games. I am also going to continue to have gameplay commentary videos, both of league games and of non-league games. I think today I just posted actually a league match that I had where I was playing Command Boba versus an Aggression Leia. And there are going to be some more league matches to come as well. Okay, so that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thanks to you all for watching, and we will be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. I will catch you guys later.